Well, hi, my name's Malin, and I like to read books, and I wanted to come on this channel and talk about them, but I also wanted to kind of share not just what I like and dislike about books, but I specifically want to talk about aspects of books that I really like, and the tools that people use to create and build these books. So that could be intent. I wanted to talk about character development on this. I wanted to talk about interpersonal relationships or character arcs, story beats, all of those kinds of things, and relate it to different books that I've read, enjoyed, and disliked throughout my life, especially recently. My work has started a book club, which I greatly enjoy. I've actually been reading a lot, or a few books that I never would have read in the first place. I read Fourth Wing because of the book club, and it was an experience, to say the least, but that is not the book that I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, mostly because I saw it recently for my birthday a few weeks ago with a bunch of my friends, and it came up last night in our D&D group, and apparently pretty much nobody in the group liked it. I remember one of my friends, when we left the theater, I think she had said, "That was just too much." And I personally, I didn't really love the book in the first place when I had originally read it. I remember closing the book and just going like, okay, like that was the story that was told, this was it. So I wanted to come on to this and talk about why was this written in the first place? Aside from, prequels are really cool to talk about now that the original stories have been out, like if people liked J.K. Rowling and suddenly she wanted to give, she did a prequel series, the fucking Fantastic Beasts. Oops, why write it if it doesn't matter? So that's what I wanted to talk about today with this book, is why did Suzanne Collins write this book in the first place? What was the point of telling this story? What had not already been told with the original trilogy, with Katniss's story? What else could be introduced to the story? What was the purpose of having Corio as the main character? But I guess before we get started, I maybe should introduce myself. If you are new here, so am I. This will be my first video entering the YouTube booktuber discourse. And not that anybody asked me to share my opinion, but I'm here to do it anyway. My name is Malin, like Melinda, but no duh. I am a Seattle resident, but I will not tell you where. My interests, aside from reading, I like to write. I am an aspiring novelist, though I have been working on a novel for years, which I am currently shelving to work on a new project. But yeah, I work as an eye technician. I check your eyes before your eye doctor sees you at the clinic, so that's what I do during the daytime, and this will be kind of like my weekend hobby. So if you're interested in just not only talking about books, what people like and dislike about them, but the craft that goes into it, and the art that goes into it, then this channel might be for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So I guess the first thing that I should start out with is introducing the topic that I wanted to talk about specifically with this book, which is intent. What is intent? So there are many ways to kind of explore why when it comes to storytelling. One of my favorite late teachers, she used to say, so what? If you're going to write something, what is the purpose behind it? What does this mean? Why did you write this and not something else? And there's many ways to there are many reasons to write a story. There are many intents behind writing a story, right? So there could be something where it's an expository essay, expository stories. They explicitly explain something, why things are the way that they are. They are there to inform the reader of something. You can also write stories with the intention to confuse your readers. You could create a sense of clarity for your readers on a particular topic, or you could explore a larger theme. You could explore the theme of humanity, light versus dark. You could explore the themes of identity, gender identity, sexuality identity, magical identity, like Divergent, those personal identities, personality identities, all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to explicitly explore intent with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, mostly because I really adored the original trilogy when I had read it in middle school and high school. And even though I didn't love this book in particular, Suzanne Collins' manner of writing, her prose, the way that she kind of just draws you in with how she writes, the tone and mood of her piece, is really intriguing. And so I did finish this really quick. It's a nice thick book, but I finished it in 3 days. So it's really easy to read. I really like that about her writing. I just didn't quite love the story that was particularly told in this. And so I want to ask, why was this book written in the first place? Why was Coriolanus Snow, President Snow from the original trilogy, why was he the main character in this story? Why was Lucy Gray not the main character in this story? Why tell a prequel story and not like a sequel to the trilogy story instead? Why not a different plot altogether? Why a romance plot, which I was personally not a fan of. I would have liked to see maybe a different kind of story, but I wanted to talk about it. But before we can do that, let's just go ahead and get a quick synopsis of the book. I'm just going to read directly from the book cover so that it's not spoilers if you haven't read the book already, though I'm pretty sure if you've done it, that's why you're watching the video. But here we go. It is the morning of the reaping that will kick off the 10th annual Hunger Games. In the capital, 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow is preparing for his one shot at glory as a mentor in the games. The once almighty House of Snow has fallen on hard times, its fate hanging on the slender chance that Coriolanus will be able to outcharm, outwit, and outmaneuver his fellow students to mentor the winning tribute. The odds are against him. He's been given the humiliating assignment of mentoring the female tribute from District 12, the lowest of the low. Their fates are now completely intertwined. Every choice Coriolanus makes could lead to favor or failure, triumph or ruin. Inside the arena, it will be a fight to the death. Outside the arena, Coriolanus starts to feel for his doomed tribute and must weigh his need to follow the rules against his desire to survive no matter what it takes. Now, I guess on a face level that sounds interesting, like a story about who President Snow was before he became the sort of tyrant, genocidal maniac that he was in the later trilogies where we knew him from, right? So that's an interesting pick. Why Coriolanus? Well, he became President Snow and a genocidal tyrant. Let's explore how that happens. That is an interesting concept, sure. Because we knew him as this very ruthless, cold person. So we get to see just a very small glimpse of Corio's past when he's a kid. There's a little flashback, I believe, in like one of the early chapters, maybe the first one. But in the past, during the dark years, I don't remember, the dark whatever, but the war that happened when originally District 13 had rebelled against the capital for their abuse against the districts, the capital was also suffering greatly. The citizens of the capital were starving, they were dying in the streets, they were being cut to pieces in front of him. So Corio witnessed absolute tragedy and horror, right? So this would ingrain him with a certain sense of ideals, that sense of the need for survival, that if I don't do this, I'm going to die. That's a huge motivation. People like to live. Personally, I like being alive. So I can sympathize with the fact that he would not want to die and that he would not want to be on the opposing side of incoming death or imminent death. So it's easy to understand why he blames the districts for the pain and suffering of the country that he lives in, because he was a child. He was starving due to a choice that the districts made, albeit justified given the abuse that the capital had put on them, but this is what he is seeing as a baby, right? On top of that, there's the compounding fact that we have a compelling background for Corio as a main character. We're given an understanding as to the future that Katniss lived. The life that she lived was not inevitable. It was never fate, it was not destiny, it was the result of choices that people made. Corio's starvation is the result of a war that is the result of a choice that District 13 made to rebel after Panem had made the choice to oppress the districts, right? It's this complete cycle of choices and their consequences. And so the fact that the life that Katniss lived, being not inevitable, but the result of choices, that's a compelling story as well. And specifically with Corio, a specific choice that he made that influences the future is when he sabotages Sejanus. He decides to record a private conversation that the two of them have with Jabberjay or whatever, and sends it to Dr. Gall, exposing the fact that Sejanus is a rebel and is going to assist getting some of the District 12 and Covey members out up north. But by sabotaging his friend, he solidifies his ethos, his credibility with Dr. Gall and the Capitol subsequently, earning himself a place of power, including getting adopted by the parents of the kid he got killed, which gets him a very great place of status and power, which influences the future that we get later. Choices he made influences the life. None of this was inevitable. Coriolanus did not have to make those decisions, but he did. He felt the need to. He felt the need to survive. And so that's kind of a theme that's explored in this too, is exploring the human need to live. So then the next question, after we've discussed why this particular main character, now we can talk about why this story. What else besides a prequel story could be told here? What has not already been explored in the other books? And so something that I was thinking about is it could be exploring the idea and exploration of punishment itself, especially the punishment introduced in the first trilogy, which is the Hunger Games themselves, kids being killed for the sins of their grandparents and ancestors and whatnot. And during this, Corio is punished later for cheating in the games, a choice that he makes. He makes the choice to send in rat poison with Lucy into the arena to help her win. He makes the choice to send in water to get the rabid guy away from her. He makes the choice to sneak in and save Sejanus. He makes the choice to kill a tribute. In self-defense, again, tying back to that theme of exploring survival choices and the consequences of those choices based on the need to survive and the want to live. So in the end, all of these particular choices are made. Corio's reaction to the said chain of events that happened has led to him giving up his friend Sejanus, right? So he thinks he's getting closer and closer and closer to dying, the worst, comparatively speaking, choices that he's making, leading him to make a decision of, well, if I make another bad choice like this, I'm going to die. I don't want to die. So let me give up Sejanus because it will allow me to live, right? So that's as horrible as it is. If you think about where Corio comes from, the past that he's had, it's like, okay, I can kind of understand why he would make that decision. We don't have to like that decision, but we can understand why he makes that decision. I think one of my more disappointing aspects of the book was the poison aspect of it, and exploring Snow's interest in poison. And I know that he is introduced with rat poison and he gives it to Lucy Gray for her to live in the arena, but that was more of just kind of a little tricky thing that I didn't think had too much thematic impact. But in the original trilogy, he has kind of this sadistic interest in poisoning people to kill them, and not only that, he takes the poison with them. It's why he has all those sores in his mouth. It's why he bleeds. It's why he wears roses to cover up the perfume of blood and decay that's happening in his mouth. And so I think the prequel was trying to explore his interest in where like his rosemary, like the birthplace of his interest in poison. Dr. Gall's snakes poison his classmate, but they don't poison him. Like he witnesses poison, but he doesn't really interact with it. And so I think that part of the story was lacking. I think it kind of fell flat because it only affects the other people. He's not being changed by what poison is being done to him. In my opinion, I think he should have been bitten by the snake and maybe affected by the snake poison, because the girl, her name's not Clementine, but I can't remember what her name is. She kind of goes a little bit, she's like, she's trying to kill me and she's trying to get rid of me, and she's all scaly and she looks different. Like, that's fascinating. And if Corio had seen that and is like, I am one with like the poison within me, that could have been a really interesting, in my opinion, story to go by. But I don't know. The one place that he actively chooses to interact with poison is the last paragraph of the book. when he poisons his teacher, and to me it's such a letdown. It's not even 2 paragraphs worth. He's walking past a nightclub, allowing himself a small smile. A person could get rat poison at any number of places, but he'd scooped a pinch from a back alley last week and taken it home, put it in a morphine bottle using gloves, and then there was nothing to make Dean Highbottom suspicious of it when he pulled it from the trash and slipped it from his pocket. Blah, 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 blah. It's inevitable. Snow lands on top. And I'm like, that is the most telling, not showing, like, ooh, this is where the poison comes from. It's like how he, like, got his power back and dominated people. He saw, like, what it could do. And I'm like, I was a little disappointed. Like, why wasn't that explored more? I think that would have been interesting. My final thoughts. Overall, I still love Suzanne Collins' prose. Like I said earlier, I finished it really fast in 3 days. I think she just has a very unique rhythm to the way that she writes. It's not really dense despite being over 500 pages. I just felt like some things, like the theme sort of fell flat throughout the book. I think where we explore why the book was written kind of falls flat. Like, yeah, it's a prequel and it's interesting to know about his past, but what wasn't told before? Why was the romance what was focused on the most? I was not a fan of the romance. They barely knew each other before they meet. He has this very obsessive, possessive personality with her. He specifically refers to her as his girl when he sees any other man around her, and he gets very jealous. Like a prick of jealousy comes at him. I'm not a fan of that. And he really just, it doesn't explore, I really feel like it didn't explore Snow's hatred for the districts a whole lot. The need for survival and the wanting to avoid dying is one thing, but he never actually thinks and feels his thoughts or feelings on the page. And I'm trying to find a specific example. Like, when he meets Lucy in the meadow for the first time after seeing her at the bar when he gets to District 12, they're talking about how the games leave an impression. She gets a little shocked when he sneaks up behind her and she's like, sorry, still got 1 foot in the arena. And he goes, yes, it leaves quite an impression. The last month had upended their lives and changed them irrevocably. Sad, really, as they were both exceptional people for whom the world had reserved its harshest treatment. Aw. Sad, really, that I support the Capitol that takes children from their parents and makes them fight to the death. What a bummer that our personalities are kind of dull now. I don't know. That just didn't sit right with me personally. I get the trope of love being built out of a sense of adversity. I don't like that trope. But I get that it is one, and people do enjoy that. But I am just not a fan of somebody knowing each other for 2 to 3 days and going through something incredibly traumatic with a person who supports said traumatic decisions. Like, Snow is a fan. They get into an argument about it, and he goes, yeah, I still support the games, even though that was very scary. I am gung-ho for it. And Lucy's just like, maybe we should talk about something else then, huh? You know, like, it's obvious why she runs away from him and doesn't want to be around him at the end of the book, because he's an asshole. But I think I did recently see the movie, and I do think the movie did a little bit of a better job streamlining the book as a whole, and it kind of expanding on the more human side of Koryo. He has more straightforward interactions, I think, with Sejanus explicitly. In the book, it's more of just like, stop trying to be a rebel and being around these people. But in the movie, Koryo directly tells Sejanus, maybe you should use your money and do some good and help the people of the districts and, you know, use this opportunity as a peacekeeper to do better, and then gets mad at him for doing better. It's really frustrating, but it makes sense for him as a character because he's contradictory as a character. But the book really just, I think, lacks a lot of that. I think it being a movie did it a better service. Though again, I don't understand why a romance was the medium to get this background prequel out. Sorry. I personally would like people's theories, you know, comment down below, like, what you think, why a romance was it, like, why the broken heart was what led Snow to go full fucking, I'm gonna be the president of Pan Am and genocide children for the next 75 years. Yay, I love this, like, because girl broke his heart? I don't know. Again, I would give it a 2.5, 3 out of 5. I like the tone and the rhythm of her writing. I just didn't like the story as a whole. But let me know what you guys thought about the book and the movie down below. The movie was better. The music was baller. The acting was not great. But other than that, those are my thoughts. I have nothing else to say. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. Have a good rest of your day.